A dust road does not erase tracks. It only buries them, the way a man buries what he cannot bear to speak aloud until a hand brushes the ground and what was hidden rises again. Eli Hart had lived by that hope for 5 years. He had changed his name. He had changed the way he carried himself when he stepped into a town. He had learned to keep his eyes down and his mouth shut. He had learned to work with his hands until his arms ached, because a body worn by honest labor looked less like a man who had once lived by quicker means. Most of all, he had learned not to stop moving until Ruth asked him quietly, one evening with a lamp burning low, whether a child could be raised on wind and distance alone. So he stopped. He built a small place where the land was stubborn and the sky was wide, a place that did not promise wealth, only shelter. A rough cabin of logs that groaned at night like an old ship in heavy water. A lean-to stable. A corral that never stayed straight for long because the ground shifted and the boards warped and there were always nails to drive again. It was not a dream. It was a hiding place shaped like a home. And for a while, it worked. On the morning the past finally found him, the wind came down from low hills with the bite of early winter. Eli stood in the barn doorway, repairing a cracked saddle strap with slow care, his fingers stiff from cold and from the habit of caution. He heard Tommy laughing outside clear, reckless laughter, the kind that made a man realize how long it had been since he himself had laughed without checking the horizon afterward. Tommy was 8. He ran after chickens as if time were endless. He tried to ride the gentlest horse as if falling were simply part of learning, not a price paid by the body. May was 12. She did not laugh as easily. She watched more than she spoke, and her quiet had a weight to it that did not belong to a child. She helped her mother with water and bread in the endless battle against dust. Sometimes Eli caught her staring at him when she thought he would not notice, as if she were measuring something she could not name. And Ruth was the only thing in his life that did not feel like borrowed time. She had not married a good man. She had married a man trying to be good. There was a difference, and it demanded a kind of faith that did not live in sermons. It lived in kitchens, in tired hands, in the way a woman looked at the man beside her and decided, again and again, whether he was still becoming who he claimed to be. That morning Ruth stood in the cabin doorway, her shawl pulled close, watching him with that particular look tenderness threaded with alertness, as if she could feel changes in the air before they had shape. "You sleep any?" she asked. "A little." She did not argue. She did not need to. Eli set the saddle down and stepped out into the yard. The sun was thin and pale. The land was quiet in the way it becomes quiet right before something breaks it. Then he saw the rider, just a dark point at first, a moving mark against the open country. A slow approach, not hurried, not lost. Dust lifted behind the horse in a narrow trail that looked, to Eli's eyes, like a line drawn straight toward his door. His stomach dropped with an old familiar certainty. Ruth followed his gaze. "Who is that?" she asked. Eli did not answer at once. Speaking gave things weight. Speaking made them real. The rider came closer, and Eli knew by the way the horse was kept, by the way the man sat in the saddle, that he was not a farmer looking for salt or a neighbor looking for help. This was a man who traveled with purpose and with experience. A man who did not fear being alone on a road. He dismounted without hurry and tied his horse to the post as if he had all the time in the world. He was around 50, perhaps older. A close gray beard, deep-set eyes, a coat worn at the cuffs, dust pressed into the seams, and a calm that did not feel peaceful. It felt deliberate. Ruth stepped forward, polite and steady, unaware that Eli had already moved, almost without thought, to put himself half a step between her and the stranger. "Morning," the man said. "Morning," Ruth replied. "You lost, sir?" The man's eyes drifted to Eli. "No," he said. I found what I came for. The silence that followed was thick enough to touch. Tommy stopped moving and came close to Ruth's skirts. May appeared in the doorway, drying her hands on her apron. The man removed his hat slowly, as if making room for courtesy. But the courtesy carried an edge. "My name is Isaac Brewer," he said. "I'm a county deputy when there's pay for it, and a messenger when there isn't." Eli stayed still. Isaac looked at Ruth, then at the children, and his expression shifted just slightly, as if he had not expected to find a family standing in the same frame as the name he carried. "I came because I heard a name," Isaac said. "And once I heard it, I couldn't pretend I hadn't." Ruth frowned. "What name?" Isaac's eyes returned to Eli. Eli Callahan. For a brief moment, Eli felt as though the years he had built board by board, lie by lie, had come loose. As though the cabin itself might split open under the weight of a name spoken aloud. Ruth did not look at Eli immediately. It was as if her heart needed a moment to accept that the ground under her had moved. "My husband's name is Eli Hart," she said carefully. Isaac nodded, as if he had expected that answer. "I figured." Eli finally spoke, his voice low. "What do you want?" Isaac exhaled slowly. "I didn't come to drag you in irons. If I wanted that, I'd have come with more men." He paused, and his gaze hardened. "I came because there's a man out there who does not forget, and he's coming." Ruth's hand tightened on Tommy's shoulder. May's face went still. "Who?" Eli asked. Isaac did not like saying it. The hesitation was small, but it was there. "Cullen Pike." Eli closed his eyes for a heartbeat. That name did not arrive like a threat. It arrived like a memory that still had teeth. "He's not law," Eli said. "No," Isaac replied. "He's not," he studied Eli. "He's a man who lost money. And men like that don't follow justice. They follow pride." Ruth stepped forward, her voice controlled but strained. "I don't understand," she said. "What did my husband do? Who was he?" Eli felt the question like a blow. Not because she asked it, but because he had feared it for years. He had believed the truth was poison. He had believed he could spare her by never speaking it. He had been wrong. Eli turned toward the cabin. "Inside," he told Ruth. "Please." Ruth hesitated. "Eli, inside," he repeated, not harsh, but firm with fear. Ruth gathered Tommy and signaled May. The children stepped inside, the door closing behind them with a soft finality. Eli remained in the yard with Isaac. The wind picked up, pushing against the fence rails and shaking loose dust from the boards. Isaac spoke quietly, as if the words themselves were dangerous. 7 years back, near Abilene, there was a payroll wagon hit, a small escort, 4 men guarding. One didn't make it. Isaac's eyes held Eli's, and a name came up, Callahan. Eli swallowed. "I didn't kill anyone," he said. Isaac nodded once. "I believe you, but Pike won't care." Eli rubbed his face with his hand, feeling the stubble, the cold, the exhaustion that never fully left him. "What do you know about it?" Eli asked, bitterness slipping into his voice. "You know what it's like to start with something small? A job, a ride, a payment you tell yourself you'll take just this once, until you look around and realize you're standing beside men who only know one language?" Isaac's expression did not change, but his eyes did. "I know what it is to watch a man run from himself," Isaac said. "And I know when a family is in the picture, the price changes." Eli looked at the cabin, the thin smoke rising from the chimney, the life inside. Ruth's steady hands, Tommy's laugh, May's quiet. A fragile peace built on distance. "What does Pike want?" Eli asked. Isaac pulled a folded paper from his coat and handed it over. Eli opened it. The handwriting was heavy, confident, like a boot print. "They say you've become a family man. I want to see if it made you slow." "Pike," Eli folded the paper carefully. It didn't need to be long. It was the kind of message that lived in a man's mind long after the ink stopped mattering. How long? Eli asked. 2 days, Isaac said. Maybe 3, Eli nodded. Then why come? Eli asked. Why warn me? Isaac's eyes drifted toward the cabin again. When he spoke, his voice had something in it that did not belong to law or work or duty. Because I had a sister, he said. And she died because a man decided to settle a debt at a doorstep. Eli did not speak. Isaac continued. I don't know you. I don't like what I've heard about you. But I saw your kids standing there, and I thought, if I don't warn you, then I'm carrying it too. Eli nodded slowly. Gratitude came to him like a bitter thing. It tasted too much like shame. Go, Eli said. Thank you. Isaac mounted his horse. Before he rode, he looked back one last time. If you stay, he comes. If you run, he chases. The difference is where you lose what you love. Then Isaac was gone, shrinking into the distance until he was only another mark on the horizon. Eli stood in the yard, the wind pushing at his coat, and felt the old world creeping back in around the edges of the new one. When he went inside, Ruth was waiting at the table. May sat near the wall, quiet. Tommy held a length of twine, tying and untying it as if keeping his hands busy could keep the world from falling apart. Ruth looked at Eli without blinking. Who are you? She asked. Eli pulled out a chair and sat as if he were taking a confession, not a seat. My name used to be Eli Callahan, he said. I worked with men who did wrong things, not because I loved it, but because I was hungry, because I thought the world didn't owe me anything, and the only way to get ahead was to take. Ruth's face tightened. And then? She asked. Eli's throat ached. Then I saw what it did to people, he said, and I wanted out, but wanting out doesn't wash it off. May lifted her eyes. Did you hurt someone? She asked softly. Not accusing, afraid. Eli felt something in him crack. I helped hurt, he said. I opened doors for the wrong men. I closed my eyes at the wrong times. I let myself believe it didn't matter as long as I didn't pull the trigger. He swallowed hard. I was wrong. Ruth's eyes filled, but the tears did not soften her. They sharpened her. And you brought that here, she said. Eli did not defend himself. I tried to bury it, he admitted. I thought a new name and a quiet place could make the old life die. Ruth shook her head, slow and pained. Those things don't die, she said. They walk. Tommy's voice came small. Pa, are we leaving? Eli looked at his son and felt a moral pain deeper than any wound. The knowledge that his attempt at peace had put his family in the path of a storm. Yes, he said. We're leaving. Ruth's voice was tight. To where? Eli had no good answer. In the West, there were no perfect hiding places. There was only distance, and distance could kill in 100 quiet ways. East, he said. Near the rails, near people, near law. Ruth let out a brief, humorless breath. Law, she repeated. You trust that now? Eli did not, but he needed something larger than himself to stand between his family and the way he used to solve problems. They packed through the afternoon. Ruth wrapped essentials blankets, dry food, the little tin of coffee she treated like treasure. May gathered clothing and her small book, tucked away as if it were a private promise. Tommy tried to bring toys that would not survive the road. Ruth removed them gently, without scolding, as if grief had already entered the house. Eli went to the barn and retrieved a wooden box. Inside, wrapped in cloth, was the revolver he claimed he no longer used. It was clean, it was ready. It felt, in his hands, like the part of himself he had tried to cut away. That night, he sat on the porch with the rifle across his knees, not to use it, but because the weight of it reminded him what waited at the edge of the light. Ruth stepped out and sat beside him. For a while, she said nothing. Then she asked quietly, "Were you ever going to tell me?" Eli stared into the dark. "I wanted to," he said, "but I was afraid if you knew, you'd stop seeing a man and only see a mistake." Ruth was silent, the wind moving her shawl. "I married you because I saw what you were trying to be," she said. "But now I need to know something." She turned her face toward him. "When it comes, when the worst comes, will you try the right way?" Eli felt heat rise in his face, not anger, shame. "I will," he said. "I don't know how to do it clean. I don't know how to do it perfect, but I will try." Ruth's voice was low. "And what is the right way?" Eli took a slow breath. "The right way is the way that doesn't make our children carry my war," he said. "The right way is me being the target, and them not." Ruth studied him, weighing the truth in his words like a woman who had learned not to spend trust too easily. "Then don't die trying to be a hero," she said. "Don't do it for pride. I'll do it for them," Eli answered. "Then live for them too," Ruth said, and went back inside. They left before dawn. The wagon creaked. The horses moved with steady reluctance. The sky was pale, and the ground had that cold smell of dirt that belongs to people who live far from towns. Eli rode slightly behind, watching the ridges, scanning the distance, listening for the sound of another horse where no horse should be. By the end of the second day, they reached a small rail town, little more than a water tower. A freight shed, a few buildings pressed close to the tracks. It wasn't Salvation, but it was noise, people, eyes. It was harder for a man like Pike to act openly there without consequences. A leaning sign read, "Red Hollow." They found a stable and paid for a night. Ruth took the children to a boarding house, where a sharp-eyed woman offered a room without questions, as if questions were a luxury the frontier could not afford. Eli walked straight to the sheriff's office. The man behind the desk was younger than Eli expected, but his eyes were tired with the kind of weariness that comes from trying to hold order in a place that does not respect it. A badge gleamed on his vest, not like glory, but like a burden. "Help you?" the sheriff asked. Eli removed his hat. "My name is Eli Hart," he began, then stopped. The lie scraped his throat. He forced himself to continue, but with truth. "My name used to be Eli Callahan." The sheriff's posture changed subtly. "You come to turn yourself in?" he asked. "No," Eli said. "I come to ask for protection. For my family." The sheriff studied him. "Who's coming?" he asked. "Cullen Pike." The sheriff exhaled as if he had heard weather coming. "I know Pike," he said. "I've known of him for years. He's always one step outside the law and one step in. And nobody ever wants to testify." Eli swallowed. "I will." The sheriff's eyes sharpened. "You understand what that means?" "I do," Eli said. "I know what he's done. I know what I helped make possible." He paused. "I'm not asking you to respect me. I'm asking you not to let my children pay." The sheriff leaned back and looked at him as if he were seeing something rare. "My name is Amos Lane," he said at last. "I'll put a man near your boarding house tonight, but I don't have an army. I've got one deputy and an empty cell." "I don't need an army," Eli replied. "I need time." "Time for what?" Lane asked. Eli's voice lowered. "Time to tell the truth in daylight," he said. "On paper, where it can hold weight, not with a gun." Lane nodded once. "Then you won't sleep much," he said, "because Pike doesn't fear paper. He uses fear." That night, Ruth sat awake with Tommy asleep across the bed and May resting with her eyes open, pretending she was not listening. Eli told them what he had done, what he had been, and what was coming. There were no dramatic confessions, no speeches. Just the slow unveiling of a life Ruth had sensed, but never fully seen. Ruth cried once, silently, and then grew still. "What happens if he comes?" she asked. Eli looked at his hands. "I don't know," he said, "but I know what I won't do. I won't lead him to our door again." May's voice came soft, almost too old for her. "Will you leave us to save us?" she asked. Eli felt his chest tighten. "I'm trying not to," he said. "I'm trying to save you and still come home." He swallowed. "But I can't promise a clean ending. The West isn't made for clean endings." Before dawn, Lane knocked. "He's here," he said. Eli's body went cold and alert at once. Ruth grabbed his sleeve. "No," she whispered. "Don't go." Eli looked into her face. "I'm not going to fight," he said. "I'm going to stop something before it happens." He stepped outside. The main street was dim in early light. A few townspeople stood half-hidden in doorways, drawn by instinct. A horse waited near the freight shed. A man leaned against a post, smoking with the calm of someone who believed the world owed him space. Colin Pike. He was older than Eli remembered, but his eyes were the same measuring, cold, as if people were items to be priced. He smiled when he saw Eli. "Well," Pike said, "look at you. A family man." Sheriff Lane stood beside Eli, one hand near his holster, but not drawing. Pike glanced at the badge. "Sheriff," Pike said. "Always good to see a town that thinks it's civilized." Lane's voice was firm. "You're not welcome in Red Hollow." Pike shrugged. "I came to talk to an old associate," he said, as if the word could make the past sound harmless. Eli's mouth tasted bitter. "I'm not your associate," Eli said. Pike's smile thinned. "You were," he replied. "You just got tired." Eli reached into his coat and drew out a folded paper. Pike's eyes flicked to it. "What's that?" Pike asked. "A statement," Eli said. "Names, roots, what I know. What I did." Pike's smile disappeared. Eli held it out, not as a bargain, but as a line drawn in the dirt. "I will testify," Eli said. Pike stared at him for a long moment. "You think paper is going to save you?" Pike asked. "No," Eli answered. "I think it can save them." Pike's gaze shifted toward the boarding house, toward the windows. Lane's voice tightened. "Pike," Lane warned. Pike ignored him. He spoke to Eli softly, as if this were a private conversation between men who shared the same darkness. "You think this is about justice?" Pike said. "This is about example. If I let you walk away clean, others will think they can walk away too." Eli's voice stayed low. "I'm not asking to walk away clean," he said. "I'm asking you to leave my children out of it." Pike let out a quiet laugh. "You didn't leave other people's children out of it," he said. Eli flinched, but he did not deny it. Then Eli did something that surprised even Lane. He removed his revolver from his belt and let it fall to the dust. The sound was hard and final on the quiet street. The town seemed to hold its breath. Pike stared at the gun on the ground, as if Eli had insulted him. "You think that's courage?" Pike asked. Eli's voice was steady, but it hurt. "No," he said. "It's choice." Lane leaned slightly toward Eli, tense. "Eli," he murmured. Eli did not look away from Pike. "You want me?" Eli said. "Then do it here. In daylight. In front of witnesses. No smoke, no accident, no fire at a doorstep." Pike's face hardened. For the first time, calculation showed through. Open violence in a rail town, with a sheriff, with men watching, with a man standing unarmed. It made noise. And Pike did not survive by making noise when it did not serve him. He took a slow step back. "You've learned something," Pike said, voice low. "Or you've gotten religion." Eli almost smiled, but there was no humor in it. "I got children," he said. Pike spat into the dust. "This isn't finished," he said. He mounted his horse. Before riding out, he looked at Lane. "Keep your town," Pike said. "The West eats small places like this." Then he rode away, leaving a ribbon of dust behind him like a promise. Lane exhaled slowly. "You did that without a shot," he said to Eli. "Not many men can." Eli stared at the revolver on the ground and did not pick it up. "Not today," he said. "I don't trust myself with it today." Lane nodded, understanding more than he said. In the days that followed, Lane sent Eli's statement by courier to the county seat. It was not justice yet. It was a beginning. Paper could not stop a man like Pike, but paper could summon other men, other eyes, other consequences. Pike did not return openly. He returned as shadow, a stranger lingering too long near the boarding house, a rider passing twice on the same street. Rumors whispered in the stable, the sense of being watched. And then, one afternoon, smoke rose from the freight shed. Not an accident, not lightning. A careful little fire set where it would frighten more than it would destroy. Lane arrived quickly, jaw tight. "It's him," he said. Eli stood with his hands at his sides, feeling the old instinct rise in him like a fever. Solve it the old way, settle it quick, let anger choose the path. Then he saw Tommy, clinging to Ruth's dress, eyes wide. May stood beside her mother, with a stillness that looked like fear forced into discipline. And Eli understood, with a clarity that hurt. Whatever he did next would teach his children who he truly was. Eli picked up a bucket and stepped into the line of men passing water. No speech, no heroics, just work, just presence. Just a man refusing to become what the past demanded. That night, Ruth sat beside him on the edge of the bed, her hands wrapped around a cup of water as if warmth could be held. "I saw your face," she said. When the smoke went up, Eli bowed his head. "I felt him," he admitted. "The old man in me." Ruth reached out and held his face, forcing his eyes up. "Then choose again," she said. "Choose again as many times as it takes." Weeks passed. Winter edged closer. Nights lengthened. A town grew tense but stubborn. Lane's patience wore thin, but he kept working the slow machinery of warrants and letters and testimony. Then, one evening, 2 men arrived from the county seat. A deputy with a thick mustache and a hard, experienced gaze. Another man carrying papers. Lane called Eli into the office. "The judge signed an arrest order," Lane said. "Not only because of your statement, because other men finally spoke. Your paper gave them courage." Eli's knees felt weak. "So it's over?" he asked. Lane did not promise comfort. "It means Pike is hunted now," he said. "Not just feared." The county deputy looked at Eli. "You're coming with us," he said. "Not in chains. As a witness. You'll say it with your own mouth, in a room full of men who won't like you. And you'll stand there anyway." Eli nodded. Ruth entered the office with May and Tommy. No more secrets. No more keeping the children safe through silence. Ruth looked at the deputy, then at Eli. "How long?" she asked. "Could be months," the deputy said. "Could be longer." Tommy grabbed Eli's coat. "Pa," he said, trying to be brave. "You're coming back?" Eli crouched down to his son's height, feeling the weight of promise like a stone in his chest. "I will try," he said, "and I will not run." He swallowed. "If I don't come back, you remember me as the man who finally stopped running." Tommy's lip trembled, and he hugged his father hard, as if holding him could prevent the road from taking him. May did not cry. She only said quietly, like someone too familiar with loss, "Don't come back as someone else." Eli looked at her. "I'll come back as what I'm learning to be," he said. Ruth touched her palm to his chest, where his heart beat stubbornly. "Go," she whispered. "And don't buy peace with our lives," Eli nodded. He rode out with the county men, the road stretching ahead like a long confession. He did not know whether Pike would be caught. He did not know whether law would hold. He did not know whether his family would ever feel safe. But he knew this. Saving a family from a violent past was not mainly about defeating another man. It was about defeating the old man inside yourself, the one who believed force was the only language that counted. Months later, when the snow had melted and the ground smelled of wet earth again, Ruth received a letter. Few lines, hard handwriting. No poetry, no claim of righteousness. I'm alive. I spoke. It wasn't clean. It wasn't brave. It was only the truth. I'll come home if I can. Ruth read it once, then again. She folded it and slipped it into her apron pocket as if it were bread. That night, after the children slept, she sat on the porch and looked down the empty road. The West was too large for tidy endings, too hungry for comfort. And yet somewhere out in that distance, a man was trying to return to his family without dragging war behind him. Most men did not succeed. Most men left their children an inheritance of fear. But sometimes, rarely, a father chose to pay the cost alone. And in the Old West, where everything had a price and mercy was scarce, that was as close to redemption as an ordinary man could come.